Alright, hello everyone. Hello again. Today I am not animating, instead I am working on a model for the next part of the pilot, or the recreation of the teaser, is what I'm starting with. In case you missed it, I am recreating the trailer, or for now, the trailer of the pilot that I made in 2D 3 years ago in 3D with Blender. And right now I am modeling a cop character for the next shot. So as you can see, I got my reference images ready, and I've got a little bit of the cop character modeled already. I'll just see how far we can get together tonight, and maybe if I get far enough, I can get to a little bit of animation as well. Once you really get, like, the modeling, how to do it, and the rigging of the characters, then you've kind of got the basics down. And then you've basically, once you know how to model and rig a character, you've done half the work for the animation already. The fun part is actually learning from these tutorials and such that I've watched to learn how to model characters, the little tricks to make the modeling just that little bit faster and easier. Such as the modifiers. I love the modifiers in Blender. Like, so, mirror, and then you make both parts of your model at the same time. Of course, when you work with asymmetrical elements, that doesn't work. But to a large degree, mirror can help you save a lot of time on things that are symmetrical. For example, shoes, legs, if it's the exact same, and even then you can use a mirror modifier to create the parts that are the same, and then apply it, and then it becomes part of the model, it gets baked in, is what that's called. And then you can add the parts that are not symmetrical onto the baked mirror and still only have to do the mirrored parts once. I believe that certain programs, I think a new version of Clip Studio also has a similar thing in its tools for 2D drawing, where you can mirror your drawing on one side and on the other. But of course, in 2D animation, that's not really that helpful, because when you're drawing a character like this, sure, then it's helpful. But when you're actively drawing animation, then it's not going to be as helpful as when you're modeling a character, of course. It's I'm not just going to be doing animation during these streams. Because at the end of the day, 3D animation is a lot more than just animating. It's modeling, compositing, editing. And then, of course, there is the game side that I haven't shown yet, because this is only the second stream, of course. This is only the second stream that I've done with this new version of the show. But I want to do some coding and some game design with you guys when the time is right as well. I'll admit my coding skills are definitely still my weakest link. I still have to look up a lot of stuff online. And that's also why the VTuber is off today, because I've got my browser on for references. So to keep the CPU as low as possible, today there is no VTuber. I want to do test streams with the VTuber, test streams without the VTuber, just to see what works best, ultimately, for these streams. Maybe I'll turn a VTuber on later on in the stream, because it doesn't take a lot of effort to turn on. So I'm just monitoring what my PC's, my dual setup, which is... The PCs aren't new, but the setup is, so I'm just keeping track of what each element is doing still while streaming. So it's still a lot of testing and trial and error. Eventually I will get things figured out. Streaming is something that's intrigued me, but also, like, public speaking is something I'm not terribly good at, so... And I still view this as a form of public speaking in a way. Why are the normals... The normals are acting weird, I'm not sure why. It's a plane, so it's probably the solidify modifier that I put on. That's... And again, when I do this, it doesn't really... Maybe it's actually... No, that shouldn't be possible, that it's displaying the back of the... Is it? No. The normals are just fucky. Like that. They just decided to be fucky. You get that sometimes with models. This red that you're seeing, these are inverted normals, which in renders and in games means everything that's red will not show up. That's only in the editor, which is Blender. So that's usually to indicate that a face is facing the wrong direction. It won't show up in the render. So for this, it should be fine, because it won't show up in the render. I do want to double check. That's not an issue. I want to double check for a second. That camera is not... Yeah, of course it's not. Oh, right. Everything fucked up. Yeah, I get that. You see, these are tricks that you just gotta figure out in Blender. It's not difficult to figure out once you know what you're doing, but it's just to get things figured out initially. There's just, as I said, the tutorials that I've been using to learn this stuff got these tips and tricks out of the way instantly, which allows you to... On your own, it would take you quite a while to figure it out, let's put it that way. But of course, these tutorials come from people who have already been using Blender for years. And at some point, I imagine it's just second nature. I think I'm going to apply the mirror modifiers, because something is messing with my model's positioning and scale. And that's usually position that is a problem. but I need the mirror modifiers applied for me to be able to apply location. See? Otherwise, all these mess up. There we go. And select these. I'll transform missed one. You see? They mess up. Because the mirror modifier is dependent on this little dot, which is the object's origin. So that is where it mirrors the other side. And then when you click transform, apply the transform, then the origin returns to the 0 point. So when you move the 0 point, the origin, the mirror modifier also moves where it mirrors it. So that's kind of a problem. Unfortunately, that did not fix it. What is going on? I guess I'm just going to leave that for now then. Yes, something isn't quite right. Yeah, something is not right, but I can't figure out what right now. Might have to do with the fact that I started... I initially tried to cheat and I tried to convert an existing model into this cop character, but I quickly realized that that was one of the earlier models I made for the game, and those are... I already remade James's model. I've already remade James's model for the animation here, but I'm going to be remaking every model that I made for the game so far, because they are too many N-gons, tries. I did not know that I had to avoid creating N-gons, which are these 4 points. Off the top of my head, I don't know the term, but this is what you want. You always want 4 points. That's when the loop tool can be used. It's the easiest to edit, basically. 3 points are tries, and more than 4 points are N-gons. And N-gons are more difficult, from my understanding, more difficult to calculate for the software. So ideally, you would only use 4 points. Never, well, if you can help it, no more than 4, and no less than 4 when possible. Of course, 3 is also an option, but either 3 or 4, and 4 is preferred, from what I've understood. I don't really like how this shirt looks. Like, it makes her... I guess it is how a baggy shirt looks, right? When you... an unflattering, maybe slightly too big shirt. I guess that is how that would look. I'll just leave it for now. Just to make it easier to see what I'm working on, I'll add a material to this up close. I'm not sure about the color yet, but I'm gonna be adding different colors to it later. When I go and adjust the materials, I like to... Of course, I do still add, like, textures to stuff. But I also like to keep stuff as simple as possible and do as much as I can with materials. Especially for animation when it's, rendered. As long as your computer can handle it, it doesn't really matter how many tries you use. As long as whatever you're using to render your shots can handle the model. For games, you ideally would want to keep it as low as, absolutely necessary. Because it doesn't really matter what your computer can handle when you're making a game, but what your players' computers can handle. So, there are graphics cards and CPUs that can handle a lot. But there's also systems like my streaming PC that cannot. I believe I tried playing Jedi Fallen Order on it, which ran decent in 30 FPS, but that's about the most modern game it could handle. I'm not sure, actually. Might have been on this system with an older graphics card, with a graphics card that my dad bought because he gave me this PC as a hand-me-down, but without the graphics card because he couldn't get a new graphics card for himself, so he bought me a cheap graphics card so I could use this computer while he kept his own graphics card for his new build. When he finally got a new graphics card for his PC, he ended up selling that older graphics card and put the graphics card that belonged to this PC originally into this one, back where it belonged. I always used to get my PCs as hand-me-downs from my dad. My first PC was hand-me-down from my dad. My second PC, the one that's currently streaming this, I did get new. I don't recall why. I think because my dad didn't have plans to buy himself a new PC. Because whenever he bought a new PC, he would give the old PC to either me or my brother. When I was getting more into animation and we realized that my PC wasn't up to snuff for that, I got his PC. And now it's almost, it's 6 years old with me, and it's 8 years old in total. So it's still got a while left to go. But yeah, 2019 Fallen Order, so I ran Fallen Order at 30 FPS on this PC with the old graphics card. Not on that one. Not on that one. I don't know if Fallen Order could have ran on that. Or, no, 2019. So it was. So it was that old PC. It was 2019. I got the PC in this one in 2020, right? I kind of lost track of what time even is, since we all know what happened in 2020. But yeah, Fallen Order ran on it on a streaming PC in 30 FPS. Not much more than that. On this one, it runs smooth at 60. I don't really try to push for more than 60 because I feel like I don't really see the difference. But I'm also not a huge gamer myself. I enjoy playing video games, but when I play video games, I prefer to play them on console more so than on PC. So I guess that's just kind of how I grew up with consoles. The PC was for my mom and dad and for school if I needed it for school. And the consoles, the PlayStation and the Nintendo DS, were for playing video games, and I guess that's just sort of stuck. Although my mom would play The Sims on the PC a lot. That was almost the only PC game we owned. I guess for my dad there was Call of Duty, but I wasn't allowed to play it. I was a kid. My parents were responsible, would not let me play Call of Duty, or Pokemon for that matter. They would buy us, like, stuff with the Pokemon on it. Like, my brother had a mug. not a mug, but like a glass, a plastic kid glass. He had a glass, and we had a board game, but we were not allowed to play the actual like DS or GBA game, or for that matter, watch the anime because my mom thought it was animal abuse. She related it to dog fighting, which I guess in a way sort of makes sense if you want to look at it that way, but it's also like it's fantasy. Like, at some point you can link anything in cartoons or movies or fictional media to something bad in real life, and at some point you can't watch or do anything because everything's gonna contain at least something that's at least mildly morally comprehensible. How do you, you say that in English? I get stuck. Morally comprehensible is, I think, what I wanted to say, but I'm not sure if that's correct. Immoral. I should just say immoral. At least mildly immoral. Yeah, that's why I never really got into Pokemon, because I didn't get it, what it was. The irony is that Pokemon was not on the table, but Star Wars was, politics and violence. My brother was really big into Star Wars and Indiana Jones when we were growing up. I never really liked Indiana Jones, but for some reason I didn't realize that I don't actually like Indiana Jones until I watched Dial of Destiny and I found myself like profoundly bored. And I was like, nah, it's just gotta be that this movie is boring. And then I watched Raiders and I was profoundly bored and I watched the, the other one called Temple of Doom and that one was kind of interesting when I just realized I didn't so much like Indiana Jones, I just liked watching it with my brother. So it was something to do with my brother. Stuff like that, you as a kid you don't realize, and as a grown up you're suddenly like, oh fuck. You see, that's my problem when I'm when I'm talking and doing something at the same time. I spent like 5 minutes looking for that modifier, and I just could not like get my thoughts, the things I was saying out, and what I was doing here on the screen out at the same time. That's why I kept going to the modifier screen, like, oh, what am I doing here? What I'm looking for something here, but what am I looking for here? But yeah, I used to always think that my brother and I like the exact same things, but it's more so that I like because, you know, I wanted to be around my older brother. And to be around my older brother, I felt like I had to like the things he liked. Since I moved out, I've kind of just been on a self-discovery journey. Like, what do you like? What things are like exclusive to you? And what things were just kind of, grandfathered in by virtue of being around and wanting to be like your family, trying to indulge in their interests, have a shared interest, I also kind of feel like that's important when you have a friendship or a relationship or anything that you need to, if even if you don't share the same interest. I'm not saying you need to have like the exact same interests because being different is good. Being even in a relationship, like having stuff that's not the same from your partner is good. It keeps it healthy and balanced. But you can at least like respect the other person and share their interests. Watch a movie you don't like together. Yeah, and it goes both ways, of course. Like if you like action movies, your partner should be willing to watch an action movie with you. And if your partner likes fantasy movies, you should be willing to watch a fantasy movie with them if you don't like fantasy. I feel like that's the best way to go about things, and it sometimes makes me sad to hear that people don't do that. You know, that's not how people work in relationships. And I just sometimes I wonder if I was just raised different, or if that's the modern standard, or I worry about being weird way too much, way more than I should. And it's not a he outlet. I just remember to look at the chat. It's not a he, it's a she. It's a ma'am. It's ma'am. Excuse you. It's ma'am. Don't assume her gender. It's rude. I'm just kidding. I am going to repurpose this model later on for the male cop. So it's a they them. It's a they them, she her he it kind of situation. That's something I do wanna, just for the sake of it being like indie out. And I do want to keep the budget like as low as possible. I'm going to be reusing models and reusing parts of models, you know, just like hide and add a new body and just a different materials, a different skin tone, you know, stuff like that. No, she's not balding. I just haven't put her wig on yet. See, it's right there, her wig. I mean, right now she's got no brain. She's got no brain and no organs. See? Imagine if humans were hollow on the inside. Do you know humans are secretly hollow on the inside and skeletons were just made up by the big government? Skeletons are not real. They were made up for Halloween. All humans are secretly hollow on the inside. Yeah, I really just think this shirt nails the unflattering uniform look down to a T. I mean, it kind of irks me when I see people, and I don't mean to be like a Mickey Mouse defender right now, like defending of the billion-dollar company's honor. But when I guess these comments were also like really common like 10 years ago, 13 years ago when Frozen came out, and like, oh, they just copy pasted Elsa's model 3 times, or with the Jungle Book and Robin Hood, Snow White, and I think Sleeping Beauty. Like these gifts, not gifts, gifts that were circulating around Tumblr of like, oh my god, Disney animators are so lazy. When, you know, the traditional cell animated, old fucking, that took forever to make animations, where it's obviously reused animation, like Baloo and Little John doing the same dance. It, they just they reused that animation, but they had to redraw it frame by frame. They couldn't just, you know, like copy paste it. Like they even with the Frozen argument, you know, like, oh, it's just the same model. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but you do realize that somebody had to make those models, right? And they still had to like change the like they still had to make those changes to the model. Like every change you make has to be done by hand, even if it's almost the same model. And yeah, for Disney, it's a cost saving measure, but it is pretty much common. It's something that they've been doing since the dawn of time. So, first of all, why stop now? if it saves your artists, because I'm looking, of course, at it from an artist perspective. If it saves your artists time and effort, because they are not getting paid those billions of dollars, or millions, I should say. We have not yet crossed into the $1 billion for a movie budget. But a million, the artists are not getting paid those millions of dollars because most of that is going to the voice actors and the marketing. So that's point one. Like, who cares if part of a model is reused or, a background character is reused? Because in Toy Story 5, I noticed they reused some of the background toys from, like, Partysaurus Rex, for example, the captain, the tub, the little tub toy was reused, and the zebra toy that gets ripped in half by the cat in Toy Story 4 was reused with a different texture on it. And I'm just like, who the fuck cares? Why would they have to make a brand new model for that? And I'm just looking at it from my own perspective. Like, would they hold me to that same standard, you know? Would they hold me to that same standard as Disney just because I am going to reuse a model, and repurpose it? And especially like with old 2D animation, when they make comments like that, like, oh, they're so lazy, they just reuse the animation from Jungle Book in Robin Hood. And I'm like, yeah, but an artist had to redraw that animation from it's just the movement and the general shape of the bear that's reused because it's similar enough. It still took hours and hours to draw that, you fucking nincompoop. Yeah, sometimes I get a little heated about animation hot takes, right? Yeah, it is easy to make a mesh look different. Like you know, for example, you just go in here, like it's uh, you just turn on this, and you go whoop, and he's got a way bigger nose, and that's just a small example where if you get creative with texturing and then you create a whole different character in like an hour instead of 6. And, and especially in the case of like Elsa and Anna and their mother, they're literally related. So excuse me for our mother looking like her, her daughter looking like her mother. Dear God. So that one I've always thought was a little silly. But I guess it's because evil corporation. But are you attacking the corporation or the poor people that work for the corporations? What I wonder sometimes. One time you were super sad about never being a skeleton. Of course, you are a skeleton right now, or is the skeleton you? Like, what if we are just costumes for our skeletons? And when we die and our skeleton comes out, that's who we really are. Ever think about that, huh? That you are not a human, you are a skeleton wearing a meat suit. I promise I am not on drugs. I am as sober as possible. Even though it doesn't sound like I am. What if humans were actually skeleton? I mean, that we are technically, right? Skeleton flesh suits. At least you're not an animatronic, a skeleton inside an animatronic suit left to rot for all eternity. But you're also not really a skeleton because your organs are still there, partially. Your guts are hanging out of a 30-year-old corpse, or I literally gave up on that franchise when Scott announced it was not the Bite of 87. but it was the bite of 83, and I was like, no, you just moved the goalpost, and we are done here. So I was done with it way before any of, the other stuff came out. And now I just every now and then I watch Mark play one of the new games, and like Secret of the Mimic, I did not understand a single fucking thing that was going on the entire time. Partially because I believe Mark skipped like 80% of the story to begin with, but also just what is this? Why is there a mimic? What is I had no I I'm just watching Mark play, and that's about as far as I am getting involved in Five Nights at Freddy's at this point. It was a fun 2 years. Fun 2 years that I was part of that fandom. I did play Ultimate Custom Night myself because it was free, but other than the first one and Ultimate Custom Night, I don't. Maybe I played Pizzeria Sim, but I never finished it because it was ridiculously difficult. And I was like 15, 14. So, you guys got any game recommendations I could try? Because I have a massive backlog of GameCube games right now. Over Christmas, I went kind of crazy and just bought like so many GameCube games. I own almost the entire Sonic the Hedgehog franchise on GameCube. There's one that I'm missing, and it's Sonic Riders for the GameCube. And that's the thing, like, I have people messaging me like, why did you buy these? You know that half of these are garbage, right? I was like, yeah, but I don't care. I want to experience these games for myself. I even got the PS2 versions alongside because I found some for like $10. Like, the PlayStation 2 versions were like $10, and the GameCube versions were 30 to 50, and I was like, Christ. But for Sonic, it's worth it. I think I paid 65 for Shadow the Hedgehog, and that's not my proudest moment because that's more than I've paid for any new game ever. So, but it was the only listing, and it was the day before Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, and I had an email alert set up for multiple games at my favorite secondhand game shop, and my phone just went off. Four emails, all four in stock at the same time, out of nowhere, and I was like, "Yes, this is a sign." And that's how I ended up getting, almost the entire Sonic franchise on GameCube in one go. People theorize that he was the bite victim in 1987. I mean, what if he was, though? Like, how do you get a cranial injury if it's not a bite from a ginormous animatronic bear, right? Big Walk. Yeah, I've seen that one. I'm kind of waiting for Bob, Wade, and Mark to play just to see like what it is. But I'm not big on multiplayer games because most of you guys are across the pond all the way across. And consoles charge you to do anything online these days, so I would have to do that on PC. And then there's the problem that one of your friends has a Switch and the other has a. And none of them allow for crossplay, it's a mess. It's a mess. Ratchet and Clank, my brother played Ratchet and Clank on the PS2. So I have like vague memories of Ratchet and Clank, but not like detailed memories. I know who they are. I know who Ratchet and Clank are, but I never played it for myself, unfortunately. Or maybe I did and I just don't remember. That's also I got the Rayman franchise on PlayStation just out of nostalgia, except for Rayman Legends because that game can fucking rot in hell. I'm sorry. I am probably the only person on the planet that hates the ever-loving shit, the ever-loving shit out of Rayman Legends. Because the Murphy levels were so obviously supposed to be played with two players. Like there's a certain rhythm to it, and when you're alone, it's just hard to nail that rhythm. And I suck at platformers, side-scrolling platformers to begin with, which is odd considering how addicted I am to Sonic the Hedgehog. But I also suck at Sonic the Hedgehog. S ranks in Sonic Generation, sure, but other than that, maybe a couple in Unleashed, and otherwise, my S ranks are Forces. Forces, I have a couple of S ranks, but Forces is also easy as dirt. If you suck at Forces, you're doing something wrong. Just like Generations. Generations has got to be one of the easiest Sonic games out there, especially with the warning system that they implemented there for a dangerous fall, where you can just tell a mile ahead, like, oh, don't go there. If you fall, you die. You go the other way. That's a safe path, which I don't necessarily mind, but it is a really easy game, especially with the new version, Sonic and Shadow Generations, where no lives is the default. But I am begging for a Sonic Unleashed without lives. I am begging for a Sonic Unleashed without lives, because that game is so cool. But the bugs, like, I can't believe that the PC recomp took those all out, and it ran so smooth, and it was such a great game without those bugs. I did not fall through the floor in Halaska Day. I did not fall through the floor in Dragon Road Day. I did not fall through the floor in what's it called? I mean, Empire City. I only know Empire City. I don't like roof. No, not Rooftop Run. That's Begonia. God. Skyscraper Scamper is the night version, right? Or are they both called Skyscraper Scamper? Either way, I had issues with falling through the floor in Unleashed. I've never actually played Psychonauts, so that could be an interesting thing to try out sometime. As I did mention, my backlog is ginormous because especially since all those retro games that I bought, those are retro Sonic games. Uh, I played like one level of Sonic Rush, and I couldn't for some reason I cannot figure out how to fuck to beat Eggman after the first level. So I didn't have time. I haven't had time since. I tried. I started that right before I started my move, so I haven't had the time to get back to it. What am I doing? I'm supposed to mirror this. See, you guys are distracting me. You guys are distracting me. It's awful. Terrible. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. And I'm happy that you guys are here. It's fun. I'm not just talking to the air. My neighbors already think I'm crazy, probably because they can't see that I'm streaming. So they probably think, like, who the fuck is this guy yelling at 10 at night? I don't think my neighbors like me. We've lived here for less than 2 months and they already fucking hate me. Because I stream late at night and I got loud. This is another reason I set up an office instead of just keeping my computer in my bedroom. So that I'm at least away from the bedrooms. But I don't know. Where big cowboy hat to distract you more. Oh my god, is it Dave Filoni? Dave Filoni visiting me on my stream. I am honored, sir. Just in Mando and Grogu, like he was already like in several shots in the background at the cantina, the rebellion. I guess it's no longer the rebellion, but the Republic cantina that's on the planet, the Republic base that Mando sort of lives at now, I guess. Oh my god, what am I doing? What the fuck is this? Sorry, guys. This is hideous. We'll get through it. It's the trust the process phase. But he's already like been in the background in several shots at that cantina and just in Mando and Grogu, he was there again and I just laughed because it's always the hat. You know, he's married to that hat, I swear. I love Dave Filoni. And I really do wish that, like I guess he kind of has expectations with like the older Star Wars crowd now who love Clone Wars and anything that isn't Clone Wars just gets shit on. It's kind of odd. It's the same writing style. It's the same guy. It's the same director. And I guess it's because it's a mix of directors because Dave Filoni was the primary director for Clone Wars and for Rebels, and he was big on the writing team. And this Mando project he's doing with more people than just himself. And it's just every time I look away, the hat gets bigger. But take it outside before it starts to starts to cover up my screen. Or were you talking about Dave Filoni's hat? Because nah, that's been the same hat for 20 years now. And he must be taking excellent care of that hat, that it's not, like, rotting away actively as you look at it on screen, because unless he's got, like, 20 million of the same hat, like Donald Duck. you know, he's taken impeccable care of that hat for the amount that he wears it, but also for how long he's been wearing it. It's kind of incredible. Quality cowboy hat. If you want to buy a cowboy hat, ask Dave Filoni where he bought his. That will ensure you get a quality cowboy hat for sure. I am trying to make this look like hair and not like somebody's carnival wig. Dear God. Oh, if this were a real person and I were a hairdresser, they would probably be yelling at me to stop, stop, just please stop, stop, please, 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 just no more, no more. He fucked it up. And what are these? Are these fucking sideburns? It's ass. It's absolute ass. But you should have seen what James looked like while I was modeling him. That's kind of an artist pet peeve of mine, I guess, when you've got people like walking by you when you're drawing and you've just started and they're already commenting on like, why does he only have one leg? Or, so like they think they're funny, the funniest joke that's never been made before since the conception of artists. That's kind of a personal pet peeve of mine when people, especially because if you're drawing in public and you have like 20 people pass by you, you will have heard that joke at least 5 times before, you know, that day. That's kind of why I don't really draw in public. Ma'am, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This is. Yeah, done. Done. She's going out of the barber shop like this. Just fuck my shit up. Jimmy Neutron looking ass. Oh god. I probably could have worked on Jimmy Neutron at this point with my modeling skills. Like this face shape also it reminds me of Jimmy Neutron a little. Ugh, maybe I should have modeled like a full head and just gone with shrink wrap because this is bad. This is bad. I should look at my own reference more. Because I'm just doing whatever right now. Oh, it's because you guys are watching. The model's eyes roll back. Yeah, the models you sent me for that storyboard gig, those are messed up in Blender, my guy. I get it because they're VRMs, they're Vroids, and they're not supposed to be used in Blender necessarily. Like you can, but some things don't quite match up in Blender. Like, is Cameron's face supposed to be red? I'm pretty sure it's not. So that's a little bit odd looking, but they do work great. Like, it takes longer to storyboard that way, but at least you don't have to draw, so it's better on my hands. I've actually considered doing storyboards like that for Swift Spark moving forward as well. I'm not entirely sure if I'm actually going to end up implementing it yet. I've sort of decided to wing the I've decided to wing the next shot because I'm going to be changing the shot completely from the original, but without making storyboards. So we'll see how that plays out. Even live action movies go with storyboards first, so I'm definitely not taking the professional approach. We'll just see. Have to see how it goes. Ugh. Oh god. I should have checked that first. What subdivision surface does to this beautiful little scalp I'm building for her. Later for him. Oh, he is supposed to have a red smear, right? And at least that's not an texturing error. But I was wondering, like, is this like a texturing error, or is he supposed to look like that? He just looked like that, huh? Yeah, okay, I get why you were saying he, because this is a dude. This is a 100% a dude. God. To be fair, I haven't made any eyelashes yet, so maybe that can feminize it. But it's a dude with boobs. Look, there's boobs. They're small, but there's boobs. I wanted to give like the sports bra vibe, like a t-shirt that's a little too big, a little baggy, and a sports bra, and then it's pulled down. Yeah, I haven't worn a sports bra in ages, so I kinda forgot how they fit. Thankfully, God. This is not how I want it. It's not how I want it. It's not how I want it. This is not how it. That's better. That's already a lot better. When in doubt, just add a bit of a solidify to make it thick. What are you doing over there? That's that. Oh, that's you. Okay. That's better. That's better. That's a nice scalp. That's a nice scalp. And now I'm going to do it differently. Stu wakes up and sees a skeleton with a wig. Marker mouthing off his face. Was he trying to turn himself like into a corpse? Like, I'm just going to call it a living corpse, a zombie. with like makeup, tried to turn his bone and like grow flesh back onto his bones, I suppose. Is that what he was trying to do? Is that's what it sounds like to me. That does remind me that I should go and play the entire ARG that you've got going on some point. I've been so busy, I've been neglecting actually like looking at the stuff my friends are doing. In case you're interested in indie projects, Damien, or I'm sorry, Outlet here has. I will cut that out of the VOD. Outlet here has a show called Ghost Friends. It's an indie animation slash ARG project, and it's fully interactive with tons of secrets to find. And you should check it out. It's called Ghost Friends. See, instead of promoting my own stuff, I am promoting my friend's stuff. Do I have stuff to promote? I mean, I guess. Like, have you seen my pilot? If you haven't, you're currently watching me recreate part of it, at least part of it. It's originally a 2D animated pilot, and I'm turning it into a 3D animated pilot. You can find it on my channel, obviously. And I have a podcast. It's not the hit podcast Distractable, but it's worth a listen. It's talking about the plans I had for my animated series, which is cancelled for now because I can't animate an entire series by myself, unfortunately. But I am still going to be using at least some of those ideas for the new game that I'm developing, so it could be spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, maybe don't watch it, but not everything's going to end up being used, so. I am going to record a new episode later this week, so that should be out next week. Stop promoting you? Never. I will never stop promoting my friends. Especially considering most people don't even seem to know that indies more than the two companies, the two big ones, just kind of like how the regular industry works. Like, people know DreamWorks and Disney, and sometimes people also know Sony, you know, but most, like, regular people do not know, like, everything's a Disney. To most normies, so to say. Everything's a Disney. Things a Disney movie. I mean, I didn't even mention Illumination from the hit franchise The Minions. So, I wonder how many people think like the Mario movie is animated by DreamWorks or Disney, and they're like, what the fuck is an Illumination? When the logo comes on the screen when I watch it, what the fuck is that? What is Illumination? Oh, no, that's the studio that made it, my guy. I swear those yellow fuckers only came to be because of Rayman and the Rabbits. Those feel like they were proto-minions. What am I doing? I don't know. Then that's the answer. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing it wrong. I wasn't going to make hair like that anymore. I was not going to make hair like that anymore. Now I just have to think how do we do this again? Like, I've only done this like twice, so I gotta think like every time I do this, like, how do I do this again? No, Bezier, not circle. Where are you? No, also not Bezier. Is it a circle then? No, it's a NURB circle. It's the things. No, I'm looking for a with the things. Oh, it was right there. That one. That one. That one. All right. this watch a master at work after watching a tutorial once and then replicating it twice. And the last time was like 3 months ago, roughly. 2 months, I'm not sure. Here, path, not geometry. Paper object is a Bezier growth. I'm going to figure it out eventually. Just watch me mess with it. That's the stuff. That's how we do that. That's how that's done. That is how that's done. That is how that is done. That is how it's done. Fill caps. There we go. Oh god. What the hell is that? I am so sorry. That is not how that's... I don't know. This is how it's supposed to look anyway. Is it chat frozen, guys? You guys haven't been chatting? Am I alone? Here you guys are just watching with bated breath. You guys are just watching with bated breath as I mess around with this NURBS path. You're dying to learn my secrets. How this works, huh? You're just dying to know how it works. Tell us your secrets, every single one of them, huh? As I said, this is a technique I learned from one tutorial, and I've only replicated it twice since, but it's a very useful way of creating hair that actually looks like hair and not the miserable mess I was trying earlier. So, you know, this is still as much of a learning experience for me as it probably is for you guys, because I've only been learning how to do Blender for like yeah, December last year, December, so that's 8 months now, roughly 8 months. So that's fun, right? You know, I'm pretty sure that people may think that, you know, I have to switch to 3D, that I'm probably like pissed about that, but I'm not actually. I'm pretty happy that I'm going this direction. Because of course, like, 2D is what I wanted to go to school for. 2D is what I wanted to pursue as a career. So, of course, I'm kind of, like, sad that I'm letting that go. Or at least, like, for a great part, but for one, it's for my health, right? And also, like, I find this stuff really enjoyable. Like, there's just something about, like, 3D animation that feels like playing with dolls and like clay, you know, dolls and clay. That's what it feels like to me, and that's just it's fun. It's so different from drawing, but at the same time, like it's got elements in it that are reminiscent of it, and I am having way too much fun with this, quite frankly. I am having a lot more fun with it than I ever expected to have anyway, so... See, now she looks like she wants to talk to a manager. Get Patreon? I don't need to get a Patreon, sir. I am on the founders plan because I made my Patreon in 2017. Swift Spark has had a Patreon ever since I released the first page on January 1st, 2017. Yes, sir. In fact, I will give you my Patreon right there. You can also find it under my own username. So they just both redirect to the same Patreon. They kind of never stopped redirecting it there after I changed the name for it. But there it is in the chat. It's not clickable, I know, but it's right there. Go check it out if you want. 3D is more engaging because you have to do so much different stuff. It's harder to get bored or tired. Yeah, it's... And at some point, both get monotonous, right? Because it's still... At the end of the day, it's still repetitive. Like, same with drawing and 2D animation. You're drawing the same keyframe, but with a small, like, deviation. You got Patreoned by me? You joined my Patreon just now? You joined my Patreon? You joined my Patreon just now? I wish I could, like, put special stuff in for you guys when you're connected. There's no way, especially because my channel got demonetized. I have, like, no access to any of the monetization tools anymore, so super chats and such always show up, and members on a channel show up with extra, like, special colors and symbols next to their names. Unfortunately, I can't highlight patrons, guys, because even when you're monetized, I don't think there's a way to connect Patreon to YouTube. I don't think there ever was. So, thank you for joining the Patreon outlet. That's unfortunately all I can give a thank you. Maybe I can get this channel back monetized and I can connect it to Patreon after all, and maybe by the time I get monetized again, you can connect it to Patreon and we'll figure something out. I'll figure something out. Free memberships for patrons, and then the name still lights up. But either way, thank you so much. That is technically the first donation we've had during this, during my streaming career, right? And it's only my second stream, so hey, how about that? I'm thinking of also, like, I've had a dormant Twitch account. I'm going to get back to Nicholas' comment in a second. I've had a dormant Twitch account. I'm considering, like, if my computer can handle it, dual streaming. It's just a plugin that you enable, and then you can stream to both Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. So that's the next thing I want to figure out. For now, I just want to do a couple of successful streams without either of the computers going to Valhalla. But as I said, like, it does turn monotonous eventually, because, of course, like, now I am placing hairs for the next hour. Technically, with a simulation, I could be done in almost one go, but then I would need to learn how to groom. And that's a different department, because when you go to a 3D animated movie, you see groom artists. That's the fur. The boots with the fur and the hair. That's groom artists, and we are not there yet. There's a reason all the hair on my VTuber is static, you know? There's nothing going on the VTuber's head, aside from it just looks kind of okay. It's because I'm not a groom artist. That's why. But yeah, you're constantly like doing repetitive things no matter which medium you're choosing. But of course, there is like right now I'm modeling a character with 2D. I mean, there is puppets, like Toon Boom, cutout characters, and puppetry. Then, of course, you're sort of modeling a character. You're putting together. What the fuck did I just do? Nothing. I don't know what I did. You're putting together a model for reuse, but in 2D. I tried that, and honestly, Blender is easier for me to figure out than how to fucking rig a character in Toon Boom. Oh, that's interesting. Partial duplicate. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm yeah, I hit the wrong button and then I'm instantly like, oh, I forgot which button was it again, and I'm forgetting further my train of like, yeah, okay, I am better at rigging characters in Blender than I was in Harmony, but of course you know, and that's what I mean with there's similar elements in both like mediums. But you're always going to end up doing something monotonous eventually. That's the nature of creative work. Like coloring, you're doing the same thing the entire time. You're just clicking a bucket, a fill bucket, and click, 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 click. But I do guess this does have more like to it than 2D animation, but of course 2D animation you can also split into the different departments as I just mentioned. Hair is usually handled by a groom artist and not so much by the 3D modeler, and simulations are handled by simulation artists, and like that 3D animation, especially because they have been trying so hard to make it as realistic as possible over the decades that they've been using 3D animation. There's even more departments for a 3D film now than there are for a 2D equivalent. That's kind of wild. I'm not sure if 3D was initially meant as a cost cutting measure because the cost cutting is gone, and I'm pretty sure like the amount of time they win. I think it was never there because with Toy Story in the 90s, dude, 3D animation was wildly more difficult to do than 2D animation compared to now. So I don't think there really ever was like cost or like time convenience involved to begin with. Everybody left. I'm boring them by saying like animation's repetitive and monotonous. If you hate animation so much, why are you doing it? It's yeah, it's something with 3D that I don't have with 2D that I can't explain. Like for some reason 3D, like I 2D has been my thing for years now. Like I love 2D. I love 2D animation. 2D. Oh, you're still here. Are you not? It's saying nobody's watching anymore, but the chat just moved. So you're still here. It's just not showing you no more. Okay. It doesn't matter either. I'm going to keep on rambling. But yeah, that's the weird thing. Like 2D has been like my for the longest time my one true love 2D animation. Like it was pure magic to it. Like and I was so excited learning how to do things like moving the camera in 2D and like seeing my animation skills improve in real time, and And then there's just this, and I've talked about this before. It just scratches an itch. Like, I can't explain why or how. I just, it does. It just does. It's, and maybe it's just because it's new, you know? It's still new, and I'm learning so much. And when I'm learning, like, you know, you're back in, the people watching, so it was just a glitch. You're not a ghost, unfortunately. Otherwise, I mean, I would have a ghost friend if you were a ghost, so. Yeah, I'm just not gonna get this silhouette the same like this, am I? If I'm gonna do it like this. I think we're just not gonna get that silhouette the same unless I massively extend this to be that strand. And I guess that would make more sense to have it be that strand anyway. We're going Mirage from Incredibles style. Wait, is there no... Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is there no subdivide here? Ain't no way there's no subdivide here. This is gonna look weird. This is gonna look weird. This is gonna look kind of weird. You get too caught up in volumes and drawing. Yeah, I mean, that is a tricky thing. Like, I had a portfolio review with Steven Silver, the head character designer for Danny Phantom, among many other things that Butch Hartman took credit for. And that was one of the biggest things he pointed out for me too. Like, one of your character's legs is thinner than the other. And ever since that, I've not been able to unsee that. I just have this tendency to fuck up volumes like that as well. That's why I am, like, I can't animate in 2D without heavy onion skinning. Like, I abuse onion skinning so much. Like, TV Paint has the pegboard tool that just allows you to move the onion skin around. And if I didn't have that, I straight up would not be able to animate in 2D, so that's kind of a sign that I am not cut out to be a 2D animator. And I guess, yeah, so much of that is just, you know, instantly handled here. Like, perspective, technic technically, the perspective is always correct, you know? And there's ways to trick the camera and break the perspective to forced perspective. And that is then the bit that requires some skill. That is the bit that requires the skill, you know? Getting the forced perspective and the stylized animation. But the basics are always covered here. So I guess that is also what makes it more beginner friendly in terms of, like, artistically. You could just, you know, work with pre-made models or have someone else make a model with 2D animation. That's, unless you're going for cutout or rigged 2D animation. That's just not really going to work, I guess. Miss is incredible. That's it's Miss is incredible. That's that's what we're going for here. Miss is incredible. All right. But yeah, that's what was I saying again? Right, and that's why I feel like 3D might be more beginner friendly, because you can just use a model someone else made, and when drawing, you can't get away with that. You need to have the anatomy, the color, like, unless you're having someone else color your animation, you need to have all those skills, like, ready if you really want to make something that looks at least semi-professional. And here, if you have professionally made models ready to go, all it takes for you to get a professional looking animation is how quickly can you learn how to animate the models in a way that looks professional. And that, I'm not saying that that's easy. So I guess it's animation will never be like super beginner friendly. And I'm talking from like zero skills. Like, you can't draw, you know? I can't draw a stick figure, then animation is always going to be like high up in the skill tree. But I do feel like for any artist, like, animation is worth pursuing, at least to a degree. You know, humans may not have like strict magic like in Lord of the Rings or fantasy, but I feel like this is as close to magic as humans can get. Illusions. You know, the illusion of life, the illusion of that something is moving when in reality it isn't. And all, you know, like the math, the code that goes behind this program, like the math and simulations and everything, that is all thought up by people way smarter than me. Without those people, I would not be here right now. But I feel like that's magic in its own right, you know? Maybe I'm getting a little sentimental right now. And I forgot to get my grocery order finalized again, so I'm gonna be missing a couple groceries tomorrow. Maybe I'll put in another order later on in the week if I really feel like I need those things. Like, I got too many loaves of bread. I got a different loaf of bread for my birthday last week, which is special to make like toasties. I guess it's just grilled cheese sandwiches in English. So I got a different loaf of bread for that, but I also got my usual 2 loaves of bread, so I forgot. So I have too much bread right now. So I'll again have too much bread when they deliver the bread tomorrow. Ugh, I'm a mess. Too much bread. A while ago, like, I had this like mystery guy or person, I guess, just in general, who packed my groceries at the grocery store for delivery, and they always got me something extra for a while. And at one point, they got me 2 extra loaves of bread, and which is great because bread is expensive as fuck. But then I had 4 loaves of bread, and that was a month's worth of bread, and I had nowhere to put any of it. So it was kind of really, really thoughtful, but also like made my life extra difficult because my freezer was just crammed full of bread for like 3 weeks. But I'm really grateful that the person gave me the free bread. More bread for bread, I guess, in a way. We were animating on cave walls using light reflect. Yeah, I mean, animation's as old as human. You know, art in general is as old as humans. And it's such a shame that we would have a computer just take it from us, you know? That's what I don't get. I get that people want to create, you know? And they may have a certain expectation of what their creation should look like. And I guess that is also sort of caused by us, the skilled artists out on the internet. Look at me being humble, calling myself a skilled artist. But by skilled artists, maybe that expectation, the same way that Instagram, you know, all these perfect people with their perfect lives and their cars and whatnot. People want to emulate that. Maybe people are also like, oh, I want to be able to animate like that, but I can't. I get that not everyone has the time or the desire to put in the work to become an animator or an artist in general, but to then turn to something soulless just for the sake of, I feel like that's just antithetical to everything like human creativity represents as a whole. It's just. I'm glad you like the hair, Nicola. I do too. I'm glad I stopped trying with the mesh and just went with the curves again. To find it more easily. So I probably should have copied it over to all of them right away. But that would have made it more difficult to see what I was doing with the dark color. So but yeah, I think it's a shame that people would rather just, for the sake of having a finished product, more so than for the desire to learn something new and for the creative process behind it, only because they might be embarrassed that the end result isn't, you know, at a certain level of expectation that they have for their finished product. Because, boy, should I tell you that I've made some shitty fucking animations in my time. Even for Swift Spark, like the first version of the teaser that I made in 2020 looks like ass. But I learned from that, and I remade it, and I remade it again, and now I'm remaking it again, and I learned something. See, now she's got a wig. I learn something every time I remake my projects. Of course, you could also not be an idiot like me and focus on doing something more useful with your time. Like, not constantly remaking the same 60 seconds over and over, but I don't need that extra loop. I don't need that. But yeah, that's something I get enjoyment out of. Just the creation and the learning process as a whole is something I get enjoyment out of. And I don't get it when other people don't get that same, like, enjoyment. But maybe that's because those people don't have a desire to be creatives. They just want to have something to show off, you know? Uh, no, I should shift D first and then separate by selection. And we just do this. And this. And we go. Not in edit mode. Yes, okay. I might have to reassign it again. Yeah, okay. So I had the other object selected. Wait, nope. And that is a different one. That's a different material. But I'll just, like that. And then object, edit, and assign. Alright. Sometimes artists treat it like content. Yeah, that's basically the issue that's been plaguing art for a while now. That it's for the sake, as I said, for the sake of having a finished product. It's just for the product. It's a thing now instead of a process. You know, that's the famous saying, the journey is more important than the destination, but that's the whole point. Like, the journey is no longer important. It's all about the destination, about the bragging rights, the showing off. You know, see what I've got. Rather than, you know, I made something and it sucks, but I learned something while making it, and I am, you know, I'm happier for it, or I'm, you know, I'm proud of myself, or I'm satisfied with myself. I grew as a person, maybe potentially even making it, and you know, you've got a new skill set that will last you a lifetime that you can apply in new situations. But it's no longer about building the skill. It's no longer about, you know, having that journey, the personal development. It's just about I have something to show off. And that's my biggest gripe with it. Like, you just want something pretty to show off. You don't want, you know, to genuinely create and learn from the creation process. If you want to have something to show off, you can also just, like, I mean, you didn't make it anyway. Hmm. You didn't make it anyway, so you might as well commission someone else to make it for you, you know? And at least then an artist gets paid and can afford their rent or groceries for the week. Instead of some rich bald dude who wouldn't have missed your $2 anyway. Those $2 you had to pay Chat Jibbity Bibbity to generate your dog walking on its hind legs while doing, I don't know, something racist, probably, because all these AI folks are racist for some reason. Because they're old. I don't know. It's not about the art. That's not. It's about the bragging rights. Like, oh, look what I made. No, you didn't. But it's about the bragging rights. See, it's a one to one. It's these two totally look alike. Anyway, there's still some stuff like the badge. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a real badge or texture it in yet, because this is for animation, so I can just, you know, sculpt it, make it real. I don't have to save verts necessarily. It's gonna be pre-rendered, if you will. Let's see how this works. It's a little thick. It's a little thick. It's a little thick. It's a little thick, but it's part of it now. No, 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 no. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this and separate selection, and then I'm going to add a new material just to make it easier to see. That's better. I'll do that here, and I guess I should use a white material. I should name my materials. I can't find a white one right now, so I'll just make a new one. So like that. That's better. I'm going to have to make some adjustments here. He made me laugh while taking my tea. With what? What joke did I tell? What joke did I tell? I don't recall telling any jokes. This is not a comedy club, sir. I use gel these days. I can't be bothered with the injections anymore. And I also kept getting hot flashes, despite injecting at the same time, same day. Consistency did not help, so I switched back to the gel. I just prefer that. Not to mention those injections hurt like a bitch. And I just did not want to have to deal with those ever again. So. What's the best way to do this? If you want to actually... Oh, old racist people, yeah. I mean, you don't have to be old to be racist, and you don't have to be racist to be old, so... Maybe I'm overgeneralizing it a bit. I'm stupid. I could, of course, just, do it here. I don't have to make... I mean, technically, I should make a cut along to keep the loop, to keep the loop intact. But that creates so many extra fruits, though. It's not nice. Hmm. Alternate solution. Alternate solution. Just a new mesh, a new object. Yeah, I still can't get the rotation the correct. It's I gotta rotate it on the X. I dread them, but I don't like being. Well, you're not sticky for that long. It's only for like a minute. Especially if you have dry ass skin like I do. It's really, really, really brief, and then it just dries, and then it starts like seeping into your skin in like the next few minutes. So I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta use what makes you the most comfortable, right? I'm not here to, tell anyone else how to take their meds. And there's different kinds of gels. Mine, and is the Androgel brand. It comes in, bottles, so it's really convenient. It is way more expensive than injections, but it's worth it not having to stick a needle in my leg for me. Because I cannot do it without an ice pack myself. So that makes it kind of rough to do to begin with. She's almost finished. What I dread most is having to make that hat. Going to be. Ugh. But I already have a gun model, which I made. I'm just going to reuse the Thug's guns for this darling cop. And then I just have to make some adjustments. Like, you just take all this hair, you delete it, and then it's a guy. No, I'll make some other adjustments, but that's gonna be the gist of it mostly. Solidify and subdivision surface. And then I just have to get the edges back. Wig, yeah, it's a wig. It's a wig. Make the model a little bit more modular, right? Makes it easier. Makes it a little bit easier to reuse the model rather than if you glue the hair into the head. And having a scalp underneath also guarantees that you will never look through into her hollow insides. You can see that she's a hollow shell of a being. It might scare people if they see that she's hollow. I do think I got pretty far, you know? I can't mirror these. I can't mirror these. Okay, I can't mirror these because they're not, it's not an object, it's verts. Alright, then we just do it like this. Oop, under your butt they go. Where's the other one? Here we go. Here it is. You were laughing because you got a main comment about Cameron's hair. You happily answered that it's a wig. I mean, it's a skeleton. Technically, there's skeletons that still have their, like, part of their, like, the scalp mummifies, and because the skeleton just doesn't move, the hair just sort of stays attached, which is really creepy. But that would not work on a live skeleton that's out and about in the humidity. So yeah, he's gotta wear a wig. I'm like, of course it's a wig. Like, why didn't I realize it's a wig sooner, you know? I really think your show deserves more recognition than it gets, you know? I really hope it makes it big someday. Because it's one of the more unique concepts that I've seen from indie animation. You know, they just all seem to be doing kind of the same thing. Like, how many shows about hell and demons do we have at this point? I mean, at least two of them are from the same studio and from the same universe, but all the others. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but it's just because the regular industry is kind of the same thing. Like, they tend to release pretty similar movies. Like, wasn't it Illumination that had Toy Story, but with dogs? You know, so it's but it's just noticeable. Like, also a lot of them have a really similar art style, so it's kind of refreshing when you see uh, an indie creator with a unique art style that dares to go against the grain. So yeah, obviously I'm just copying the amazing digital circus here with my CG. Obviously, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to cash in on that popularity. My wrist is hurting a little now, actually. I did buy an ergonomic mouse, but I have tiny, tiny hands, so it's kind of difficult to get the right size mouse for my teeny tiny hands. They're also huge, like, ergonomic mice are for, like, people with colossal hands. I'm just like, hello. I do not have colossal hands. I have small hands even for my height. My hands are, like, from the palm to the middle finger is 16 centimeters with effort. It's like more like 15 and a half. It's really short. So I guess the mouse is still slightly too big, but it does help me get through an entire day because I've been here for like 12 hours. I finished that shot that I was working on the previous stream by adding a couple more smear frames. And then I started working on this character. That's why it didn't look subdivided. But yeah, I feel like it's fun, getting to do this live, even if there's not a whole lot of people watching yet. Maybe in the future people will start watching. Is it is indie animation behind the scenes, which most studios won't give you, right? Have you stretched? Yeah, yeah, you gotta stretch. You're not in high school anymore. I'm not. Of course, I stretch. I'm not in high school anymore. I should have said. Oh, missed opportunity. You stretch. It's so good for you. It's so good for your bones, for your skeleton. Right? That's what you stretch when you stretch, right? Your bones. You get taller every time you stretch. Imagine though. Mm. In a lot of trans groups, there's this rumor that stretching can make you taller. And I'm just like, guys, come on, please. I guess it's mostly like the teenage boys who still have hope that they haven't finished puberty yet. And in some cases, like, you can like straighten your back a little if you have a slouch, but you won't get taller, unfortunately, from stretching. If I got taller every time I stretched, I'd be stretching 3 times a day to become the tallest man ever. I got you beat. I'm 5'3", sort of. I'm 5'3" if I wear shoes, and I'm just below 5'3" if I don't wear shoes. I have elevator shoes that make me 5'8", and they make me feel like a god. And then a cis guy walks by, and I feel short again. But they make me 5'8", and they're so powerful. I love those shoes. I also have a smaller pair that make me 5'6", and I wore those to a theme park. I just I love those shoes. I am looking to buy another pair because these are 6 years old and they're literally falling apart. So I need new shoes, but they're so expensive. So I'm just kind of waiting until they literally can't go on with the, and I need new shoes. And they're technically not good for your back because it's kind of like walking on high heels but with like full foot support. So it's still like the arch in your foot, but you're not walking on your toes. You have support for the entire foot like walking in sneakers, but you're still walking the same position as in high heels. So it's bad for your back, but having a bad back is just a consequence of being Spider-Man, I guess. You guys like my jokes, right? I'm hilarious. I should have like 10 million viewers right now. So I'm the funniest. Obviously, I'm the funniest animation streamer out there. You know, when I get to Unity, that is where the fun begins. But first, I want to get this teaser trail, like what I put out as the teaser trailer, basically the first minute of the pilot. That's what I want to get done because that's also what the game begins with. That's the first cutscene of the game. And for that one, I do want to replace the panels then with uh animated version, and then the rest is gonna be panels for a while. But that was special, like the opening, the Sonic Unleashed special. If you played nice, I wouldn't have to break all your toys. And that it lives rent free in my head. That cutscene lives rent free in my head forever. It's just I am convinced that Eggman is not actually trying to take over the world because if he was, he would not be constantly leaving obviously hedgehog-shaped holes in every single one of his plans. It's kind of Dr. Doofenshmirtz who wants to be thwarted because if he succeeded, the fun would end. You know, it's more about the thrill of the hunt more so than the Eggman would get insanely bored within like 48 hours of actually winning. And so would Sonic. So they would just start it all over again, I'm pretty sure. That's a belt. Bolted onto her hips. Nice. For the buckle, I'm probably just gonna real quick do this. Whoop. Like that. Make it flat. Edge crease. Oh, that's a nice buckle, isn't it? That's a nice belt buckle, even if it's a little melted into. It's kind of melted into the belt. You should turn that off. Yes. Get a clearer sight of what I'm doing. There we go. Now it's no longer melted into the belt. One more, one more, one more. Pre-rendered cutscenes in old video games had a cool vibe. Yeah, I mean, Shadow the Hedgehog made me chuckle because you pop in the disc and it starts with such a cool cutscene, like, and then you enter the game, and then you're like, where the fuck did that? Where did it go, you know? Same with Sonic 06. Like the cutscenes are just and actually all 2000 Sonic games have just like these beautiful pre-rendered cutscenes where you can count every individual hair on Sonic's fur, basically, every quill on his back, and then you go into the game and it's like I can count the polygons now. And that's exactly the vibe I'm going for with this. You know, pretty pre-rendered cutscenes between gameplay, and then you can count the polygons in the in the actual game. But as I mentioned, that's also going to, have a utility other than 2000's aesthetic, because that means lower end machines will have no issue running it. Whereas I'm pretty sure that my PC can't even run most modern games on PC. Maybe at like 30 FPS at like low, but that's about probably the extent of where my PC gaming journey would end with AAA. I haven't actually bothered getting the demo even installed for Sonic Racing on my PC because I'm pretty sure I can't fucking run it on my PC. I'm just going to leave that white for now. In fact, I'm pretty sure noise suppression filter is keeping it from being audible. But it's 11 p.m. and my cats are destroying my apartment because they insist we go to bed now. So, what did we do today? We made arms, we made hands, we made a face, and some hair. Well, I believe I finished yeah, I finished most of the face before I started, actually. So what's left is a mouth and a badge, and a hat, and everything else can be done through texturing, and maybe a holster for her gun to put her gun on her belt. But she's going to be carrying it in the scene she's gonna be in, so not sure if that's really necessary. And then I gotta make the guy cop, and then it's back to animating time. Before we leave, I'm going to open this one to show you guys a little something. Going to have to see if I can switch the window properly once it loads in. So give it a moment. It's struggling to load. Oh no. Please don't crash. Don't crash. Don't crash on me. Don't crash on me. Don't crash on me. Alright, here we go. Let's see if that works. Yes, it works. Alright. Close that. No, of course not close that. I'm going to just let it loop a couple times. Because there's no way... Oh, I can scrub it by scrolling. Alright. I'm going to switch the window, and that's going to be you guys' treat for being here live. Right here. I have to switch to this. Yes. Really? Right, you guys seeing this now? No, you're not. Okay. Why is it not? There we go. So I'm just gonna let it loop a couple times. Because when I try to scrub, it stops playing. See? That is the animation that I worked on the other day. You guys get to see it sooner. Even if it's in a low quality. I do notice now that there's something wrong with her blink. But oh well. I can go back and fix that later. But for now, it's late. It's late enough, I would say. And I want to thank you guys, both of you guys, for coming. And anyone that's watching this in the future for watching it all the way to the end. Now I shut down Blender first. I shut down Blender. I shut down all of Blender. Regardless, Blender's back. It's just not with the with the character. It's better than staring at a black screen. It's late. I had fun, even though this was a shorter stream than last time. This was only, what, 2 hours? 2.5 hours? Yeah, just over 2 hours. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer than I have to. And I wish you a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever you've got going on. And I hope to see you guys again next stream, where we will be animating again. Or maybe I'll be delving back into Unity because I've got a whole lot of work to do. I want to remake the school building that I'm currently working with, but for now I'm just gonna roll with this, even though I'm not happy with it. But I've got to redo some systems because I've learned some new techniques and I have a far more efficient way of doing things than I did the first round, so we can do that together. And who knows, maybe this absolute beginner can teach you guys something. Thank you, Nicola. I'm happy that you liked it. I like it too. Except for the blink, the one character that's apparently not working properly. Gotta look into that. That means there's something wrong with their shape keys. I might have actually accidentally deleted them while working with Animal. I'll look into that. So it's a minor fix. Once again, it's late. Don't want to keep you guys. Have a great day, evening, night, whatever is going on in your part of the world, and hopefully you'll join me again next time when we're either animating or getting into Unity, where I'm finally going to be showing off my coding skills, or lack thereof. For now, I'm going to bed. Good night. Bye-bye.